Iran was the Paris of the Middle East. Women could wear whatever they wanted. We had beaches, we had ski resorts, we had everything. There's no democracy in Iran. In Iran, if you go and protest, they'll shoot you in the head.
Just like that.
Just like that. If you drink alcohol, they'll lash you. 10 lashes if you drink alcohol. Don't wear a headscarf, they lash you. 60% of Iranians are not Muslim anymore. They've lived under the Islamic Republic. They've seen how bad things are. People are starting to reject it. People here that were born here that don't understand. They're like, oh yeah, free Palestine. Yeah, free Palestine from Hamas. There's more Islamic extremists in London than there is in Tehran. Europe is losing this identity. They go after people that speak about the problems, not the problems themselves. At this moment in time, we have more slaves in Africa than we did at the peak of the transatlantic slave trade. He wrote in a book that if you rape a camel or if you rape a goat, then you cannot sell the meat to other Muslims. Just go and look at the life of Mohammad, go and read the Quran. He wasn't a nice guy. There's a lot of sick people out there and they use religion as a cover for their own psychopathic tendencies. Not everyone that criticizes immigration is racist. Not everyone that criticizes Islam is Islamophobic. And they say in life, if you want to have an adventure, tell the truth.
I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Younes.
Liam.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Now, before I ask you about the Islamic Revolution in 1979, which is going to be very important to our British listeners, just give me a little bit about your background. Like, who are you and what do you do?
So basically, I'm a political analyst. I studied at university as politics. I have a master's degree. And basically, I've done many different things in my life. Like, I started from nothing. I came to this country when I was 13, although we were living relatively wealthy in Iran. When I came to this country, I had nothing. So I had to, they say, cut my teeth the hard way. So I started working as a waiter, bartender, working in events, being a lifeguard, being a swim teacher, football coach. I went to uni, I came out. I briefly worked in finance. Then I started working in marketing. And then all of a sudden, I was doing acting stuff, like being an extra in films, like Aladdin, Fast and Furious, stuff like that. So I had a media background. Then about 2 years ago, I saw a lot of nonsense online, like people not really knowing what they're talking about, also not having the lived experience. And I'm Iranian, so I lived in Iran. My family is political background family, and I have the educational background. So I thought to myself, why don't I start making videos? So I started making these long format videos online. And the first video was about Trump, the second was about, and then by the 10th video, I started speaking about Islam. And then about January last year, some of my videos went viral. But one of the things that led to me doing that is because I also done teaching. I used to teach politics to GCSE and A-level students in Chelsea Academy School. And when I was teaching, I saw these young kids really looking up to me. Like I was a popular teacher because I didn't really care. But also I managed to engage them. I was giving speeches, giving lectures, and they were actually really interested. So I was like, why don't I scale this? Why don't I scale this? So why don't I make this online? Started making videos. Funnily enough, the school come up to me because I was tackling very controversial issues like LGBTQ, toxic feminism. The school brought me in and said, Younes, you can't be making these videos or you can't work here anymore. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to follow my passion. So I handed my notice in December 2023. And January 2024, I went viral a few times. And by May, I was on TV. So we've been going from strength to strength from there.
Kudos to you for not letting anybody suppress what you think and feel and what you can speak about. Exactly. Massive bone of contention within the UK at the moment. So the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Yeah. Tell me about that, and then paint the picture of what Iran was like before and then after, and then perhaps what we could expect to come over here.
Sure. So basically, Iran was the Paris of the Middle East. It was the most visited city in the world after Paris in 1975. People don't realize this. What Dubai is now, Tehran used to be back in the 70s. Like your grandparents probably went to Tehran. Like it was a very popular destination. It was extremely liberal. Women could wear whatever they wanted. We had beaches, we had ski resorts, we had everything, like a proper nice place. Then the Shah, the British and the Americans didn't like what the Shah was doing. What was the Shah doing? The Shah was taking control of the natural resources of the country. So it was called the British Anglo-Persian Oil Company. And then he was like, it's our resources. We shouldn't be sharing it with the British. So he called it the British oil company. And then he started something called OPEC. Do you know what OPEC is?
No.
OPEC is basically the bank that all the countries that have oil, they put the oil in OPEC and then they sell it through OPEC. It's basically like the governing body of selling oil. And the Shah was one of the first people that helped institutionalize it. So he managed to increase the price of oil. What happened is that the British and the Americans didn't like it. The Carter administration specifically, the left-wingers in America, not all of America, the deep state didn't like what the Shah was doing. So what did they do? They started funding these Islamic clerics within Iran that were against the Shah. They were against the monarchy. They start funding them. And also, but the problem the Shah had is that Iran was having borders with the Soviet Union at the time. So, you know, the domino effect, like America was very worried about countries becoming communists, right? And that's why they went to war with Vietnam, for example, right? And because Iran had a border with Soviet Union, America was always very like scared that Iran one day might become communist. So what they do, they start funding this Ayatollah Khomeini. So they like funded his campaigns. They had a house for him in Paris. And what happened was that the communists and the Islamic clerics joined forces together to cause a revolution. And then once they got into power, the Islamists killed all the communists and the Marxists. And Khomeini double-crossed the Americans and the British. Like, have you seen Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, Bane?
Yeah.
You know when that scene is like the guy that funds him, he's like puts his hand on his shoulder. He's like, just because you gave me money, you think you have power over me. That's exactly what Khomeini done to UK and America. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he basically double-crossed. He used the Americans, he used the British, he used the communists just to get him to power. And then once he got into power, he killed them all. Or, you know, he stormed the embassy. So it's very interesting. And what happened after that, unfortunately, is that we had 46 years of oppression. You know, we had the Iraq War. And at the time, because there was a lot of Iranians that were very sort of patriotic, and it was the beginning of the revolution, a lot of Iranians went and fought in the Iran-Iraq War when Saddam attacked us, right? But right now, no one likes the Islamic Republic. In the beginning of the revolution, people were like willing to stand up for it. But then after 46 years of showing their true character, no one really likes them anymore. So, I mean, I'm giving you the entire story. So for 46 years, when they got into power, we had the war. And you know what Khomeini said when he got into power? He came out and said, the Iran-Iraq war is a blessing for us. Why did he say that?
You tell me.
Because he knew that more people go and fight in that war, and the more people that die in that war, the more families are going to say, our children died for the Islamic Republic. So they're more likely psychologically to support them.
So just so I'm clear, the Shah is the equivalent to our king, but he sounds more loyal and patriotic to Iran rather than our king is to us, as far as I'm concerned.
Look, the Shah was a very classy man. He was, I don't know if you've seen videos of Iran in the 70s. Like, it's amazing.
The women look very different in the 70s in Iran.
Exactly. Yeah, Persian women are very beautiful. But also, the Shah was a very classy man. He was educated in Switzerland. Yeah. So his dad was a very big army man. His dad managed to take control from the Qajar dynasty. He was an army man. But Mohammad Reza Shah, which was the Shah that was overthrown, because he was educated in Switzerland, he didn't realize that majority of the Iranian population are still extremely religious, are still extremely brainwashed, are still extremely ignorant. He thought that everyone has the same mentality as him. And one of the mistakes he made is that he tried to progress Iran too quickly. Like, he was like trying to bring a third world country into the first world country within a decade. And people need time to catch up for that. Like, you know what Mohammed bin Salman is doing in Saudi? He's doing incremental changes. You can't give all the freedoms all of a sudden to a population that doesn't understand, you know?
And the clerics were radicals.
Radicals, yeah. And because people back then in Iran were more religious than they are now. I think there was a new poll out recently that said 60% of Iranians are not Muslim anymore. And the reason for that is that because they've lived under the Islamic Republic and they've seen how bad things are and how they force Islam onto people, people are starting to reject it. And that's why Iranians have a very unique perspective on this Israel thing. Majority of Iranians, in my opinion, from what I've seen, are actually pro-Israel. Because we lived under the Islamic Republic. We know what oppression is. We know what living under Hamas is like. We know, but people here that were born here that don't understand, they're like, oh yeah, free Palestine. Yeah, free Palestine from Hamas. Free Iran from the Islamic Republic. Free Lebanon from Hezbollah. Israel is not the enemy here.
What is it like living under the Islamic Republic? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure people consider the Islamic Republic as a terrorist organisation, but they really are.
No, definitely are. They are the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
They feed like Hamas and Hezbollah, don't they?
Of course they do. And the fact that they're not assigned as a terrorist organization, I just don't understand it. Or maybe it's because they're attached to a governing state or governing body.
And what's it like living under that regime?
It's not great. Look, Iranians are very fun people. They're very open-minded people, charismatic people, energetic people, smart. And we're not Arabs, by the way. Persians and Arabs are two completely different races. Like,
what's the difference?
so we're Aryans. That's why they call us Iran. We're like basically Europeans that travel to Persia. So it's more closer to Turkey. And like the best conceptualization I can give you is like Persian is a mixture of Russian and Arab together. Persian, you know what I mean? If you mix Russian and Arab, you get Persian. And maybe also a bit of Indian, I don't know. But we have a different religion. Like our religion, we have Zoroastrianism, which is 2,500 years old. We were not even Muslim. Islam was something that was imposed on Iranians. And Islam is the only thing, we're only two of the countries that didn't change their language to Arabic after being conquered. So Spain was conquered by the Arabs. They kept their language. And Persia or Iran, they kept their language. Any other country that was invaded by the Arabs, they're speaking Arabic now. Wow. And that just shows you that fundamentally, Persians were not Muslims and Persians are not Arabs. So I think there is this conflict of interest always, or there's this internal conflict. Don't get me wrong. I would say at this moment in time, 10 to 20% of the people in Iran support the Islamic Republic. 20% maximum. I would say it's 10, but we can give an average of 15%. 15% of the people in Iran support the Islamic Republic.
So it's nowhere near a democracy.
Only 15%, 85% are against them. But then the wealth and the money and the power and the military is controlled by the 15%.
And how brutal are they over there? Like the death penalty still exists?
Of course, they're very deep. You know, look, in Iran, you don't have bars. If you drink alcohol, they'll lash you, like 10 lashes if you drink alcohol. If you're a woman, I don't wear a headscarf, they lash you. You know, Mahsa Amini, she died in the police. She banged her head somehow. But people are very brave in Iran. It's not like, the thing is, you don't understand. There's no democracy in Iran. Like you can go and shout in the streets and make a protest. In Iran, if you go and protest, they'll shoot you in the head.
Just like that.
Just like that. So it's not a joke. But the fact that people still do it, it shows how courageous they are. And sometimes we need to understand what's happening inside Iran right now. As I said, Iran is beautiful and Iranian people are great. But imagine a country in which people don't have gas, don't have electricity sometimes, don't have water sometimes. One of the richest countries in the world, by the way, Iran. And the reason is because the government is incompetent, but also they're doing it maybe on purpose to keep the people low, you know? So fundamentally, it's just such a sad story, what happened to my country. I truly think that Iran could have been Dubai times 1,000. We've got islands, we've got mountains, we've got skiing resorts, we've got great food, great culture. We've got everything. As a country, we've got everything. Second highest oil producer in the world, second highest gas producer in the world.
Do you think
30 precious metals, amazing.
Do you think there's hope that could happen one day? It could be the new Dubai?
Better than Dubai, I would say. But yeah, for sure. I mean...
Because at the moment, there's a big problem over there, isn't there?
There is a big problem. One of the criticisms I had of the people of Iran, I was like, why didn't you take to the streets and protest when Trump, you know, done the bunker buster bombs on the, you know, Fordo, Natanz nuclear sites, right? And then I got a bit of perspective. I was like, look, imagine you're in a country where you're hungry. You've been oppressed all your life. Yeah. People will shoot you in the head if you go and protest. Of course, if you was in and you're hungry, like you don't have anything, you don't have sometimes internet, you don't have electricity sometimes. Like imagine if you was in that situation, would you go out and protest?
You'd certainly
so
think
I do have some sympathy for Iranian people within Iran. But at the same time, I think Trump made a strategic mistake. Trump should have just finished the job. I don't know why he didn't finish the job. Because the more time you give to the Islamic Republic, they will probably recoup and they'll be back at it in 2-3 years' time.
You think Trump should have just taken out the whole of the IRGC completely?
The IRGC, Khamenei, he should have definitely. But, you know, Trump ran on this premise of, I'm not going to start any new wars. So he's trying to pander to his base. But nobody wants a full-scale war with Iran. Nobody wants a full-scale war. I agree. Iraq war was terrible. You should have never invaded Iraq. I don't know even why they done. They should have never invaded Afghanistan. If you want to kill bin Laden, just do airstrikes. Do carpet, take out their bases through the air. Same with Iraq. If you want to take them out, don't go and invade. I do not want a single foreign military boot on Iran. What I want is strategic targeting of IRGC states, military bases, nuclear sites, something that Israel done very well. Apparently, Israel was on its way. Netanyahu was on their way to kill Khamenei, but then Trump stopped them. He made a mistake. But I heard recently, maybe yesterday or the day before, that Islamic Republic is back at it again, like attacking American ships through the Houthis in the Red Sea.
So do you think this will escalate now that Trump's realised that his soft approach, in your opinion, isn't working? I suppose, from your point of view, what you're saying is you can't negotiate with terrorists.
Exactly, 100%.
And that's what he's trying to do, you think?
Yes. There's no deal to be made with the Islamic Republic. Okay? If you try and make a deal with them, they'll probably recoup. You cannot expect behavior change.
Explain to me what, and the listeners, what a fatwa is and what's recently happened. Donald Trump's been issued with a fatwa, and the severity of one of those.
A fatwa is a ridiculous concept, just like majority of Islam. So fatwa is something that an imam, someone that's like a high-ranking Islamic cleric, can do. And they basically put a fatwa on someone saying, oh, this guy is a sinner, hence why we should kill him. Like, for example, there was a fatwa on Salman Rushdie put by Khomeini. There was a fatwa on him. And it's funny because one ayatollah can give, or one imam can give a fatwa, and then the next imam can come and say, oh, no, that's void. You know what I mean? So they have this internal conflicts in between each other. So a fatwa is basically someone that they deem is the enemy of Islam.
So they want to kill Trump now?
Yes, exactly.
Because he struck their army base?
Exactly. But they're not going to do anything. And what I've realized is that you stand up to bullies in life. You stand up to bullies. The more you try to pander to them, the more ground you give them. So I think Trump honestly made a huge strategic mistake, but I understand that he's trying to pander to his base in America. People that don't actually understand the issue. Clearly, they're like comparing apples and oranges, like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. They really don't know what they're talking about. Like, I used to like Candace Owens and stuff. Like, I agree with her on feminism. I agree with her on LGBTQ. There's not 100 different genders. Toxic feminism, I should say. So I agree with her on Black Lives Matter. Like it's a nonsense concept. But I do not agree with her on her stance in the Middle East. And it's maybe because she wasn't born there. She hasn't lived there. She thinks that somehow Israel doesn't have anything better to do than to bomb kids, which is wrong.
Yeah, so for somebody that grew up in Iran, so you went through the whole schooling system.
Yeah.
What do they teach you in school in Iran?
They teach you to hate Israel. They teach you to hate America. They teach you to hate the West, United Kingdom.
From such a young age?
From such a young age. You try to brainwash you.
That's frightening.
They try to instill this Islamic ideology in your head. Look, I went to a private school in Iran, but the teachers used to beat us up. Like, I'm not joking, right? That's what happens in Iran. Like, if you put your hands on a kid in this country, they'll take your license away. They'll probably even throw you in jail, right? But in Iran, the kid, they used to beat, kids up, right? And when I got to this country, but at the same time, it makes you grow up quick in Iran. Like, people in Iran are very clever. So when I came to this country, I was like, well, people here are pussies. You know what I mean? But it's just, they say hard times create strong men, right? And strong men create good times. I think Iran, because they had weak men during the Shah, right? They caused a revolution. And now this 46 years of hardship has made the Iranian people very tough. So I think they are ready for this change so they can create the good times.
Jew hatred has become very popular in the UK, across the West. So for somebody that went to school in Iran and you were taught to hate Jews and hate Israel, why do you think there's been such a surge in Jew hatred in the West? Where's that come from? Well, and why? Why are people supposed to hate the Jews? I don't understand that concept at all.
It's amazing to me because what's happening in the West now is what happened in Iran in the 1970s. And they say you learn through pain in life. Because you have so much freedoms and because you can say whatever you want and because you haven't lived under the Islamic Republic, you haven't lived under Hamas, you don't know what you're talking about. You have a liberal government that doesn't do anything to you. You can say whatever you want. And I think it's the mentality of they're standing out for the oppressed and the poor kids. There's, it's this left-wing ideology, the woke mind virus, I call it, yeah? I think the West has been infected by the woke mind virus. And the woke mind virus is actually a communist Marxist doctrine, which always there's the oppressor and then there's the oppressed. So they think that the Palestinians are oppressed by Israel, but they're actually not. They're oppressed by their own people. The biggest problem we have in Iran is not America or Britain, is the Islamic Republic. So hence why I support Israel in their strikes against the Islamic Republic, because the people themselves can't do it. They've tried dozens of times and they just shoot their people and then people don't have weaponry. Israel is the only one that actually managed to go get Khamenei, the rat, to go and hide in a bunker, right? Israel is the only one that managed to kill IRGC members. These are the people oppressing Iran. So, and it's maybe the Stockholm syndrome. The Stockholm syndrome is like some people fall in love with their oppressor. Maybe some people have that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but also look, we live in very dangerous times. I see the fall of the West before my eyes.
Can you see a similar pattern now to Iran, late 70s?
100%.
Tell me those patterns in detail.
The patterns are, you start virtue signaling. You don't know what you're talking about. So you think like, oh yeah, speaking about Islam is Islamophobic. No, it's not. I actually had this conversation yesterday with someone. The guy was from Bangladesh, but I didn't want to escalate the situation. So I said, and then he was, and then he was like, oh, the true Islam, bro. The true Islam is the most beautiful form. I was like, no, go and read the Quran. All I'm going to say to people, go and read the Quran. The Quran is full of anti-Semitism. Mohammad killed thousands of people. He wasn't a nice guy. Just go and look at the life of Mohammed. Go and read the Quran. Okay? I've done videos about this. People can watch it on their own.
Was you born as a Muslim?
I was born in a very liberal Muslim family, but I wouldn't say like...
You didn't follow it to the script.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of the patterns you're talking about, so the patterns are the woke mind virus. So it starts with, lying to society as a whole. There's 100 different genders. No, there's not. So that's why we need freedom of speech. We need to challenge by, no, there's no how. There's 2 different genders. Black lives matter. Yeah, all lives matter. But then there's a reason why so many black people die. It's black on black crime, Other factors, class factors. You can't just say, oh, the police are just racist, they're killing black people. It's not true. So all these things. And then you have, again, it's the Marxist doctrine or ideology. So if I want to explain this, imagine this is a hierarchy, yeah? Mm-hmm. The left-wing ideology has resentment to the people at the top. They think people at the top are evil. So what they try to do is they try to flip this upside down. So people at the bottom, like, oh yeah, they go, tax the rich, so we can get the money. No, go and work hard, and then you'll make it one day. You know what I mean? So it's all these things. And also this idea that we do not have freedom of speech. You should be able to criticize bad ideas. And Islam, some parts of it is a bad idea. So people are not awake to that. Right? I'm not saying Israel, everything they've done is correct, or that Jewish people haven't committed any crimes. There's a lot of bad doctrines in Talmud and the Torah, also in the Old Testament. But the difference is that Islam is an extremely militant religion. There's a lot of call to action in Islam, So, and all you have to do is to look at the life of Mohammed, right? We should be able to say these things. That's why freedom of speech is very important, something that's trying to be stopped by the key Islamic government. So the thing is, the kids here, they're happy, their stomachs are full, they see all these TikTok videos on Instagram, they don't know what they're talking about, they haven't lived under those conditions, so they think, oh yeah, free Palestine. Yeah, free Palestine from Hamas, because those are the people that are oppressing them. Hamas was given $20 billion back in 2005, and the leaders took that money, went and lived in Qatar in a 5-star hotel, their sons flying private jets, whilst the Palestinians were starving. And they built tunnels instead of building skyscrapers. So you tell me, and they're shooting rockets towards Israel. And you expect Israel not to react. And the funny thing is, every single war with Israel was started by the Arab nations, neighboring nations. But then Israel beats them, and then has to apologize for beating them.
Coming back to the UK, so the Unholy Alliance. Yeah. So we've got the communists over here buddying up with the Islamists, and we've got the communists on the left. They're kind of helping the Islamists slowly but surely get into power. So 1979, the Islamic Revolution, that exact same thing happened, didn't it? Who were the first people that the radicals turned on?
Well, the first people they turned on are the people that were pro-Shah. So we had very smart, educated people in the government back then, like extremely smart, like people could speak 5 languages and very eloquently. They could speak English better than an English person,
They took them out first.
Yeah, they took them out first. So the thing is, the Islamic Republic has caused so much harm to Iran. Not only because as soon as the revolution happened, they started murdering all the top heads of state. The Shah escaped, but all the prime minister, the heads of military, like we had a guy that was the head of our equivalent of RAF. He was like the best pilot in the world. Like he was ranked number 1. They killed him, hanged him. They killed the prime minister. And anyone that was affiliated with the Shah, they just hanged them without question. Like they didn't even interrogate them. Like 2-minute interrogation, hang. Like for example, the Raisi, the one that died president last year, he was one of those people. Then after they went after the communists. They went after, and even if you had, for example, a book of Marx at your house, they found that book, your life was in danger. They were like, oh, why are you reading this book? Can you imagine that? So they start killing the communists. Then after that, they just start oppressing. So at first, Khomeini was like, no, women can wear whatever they want, and we're going to give free housing, and we're going to give free electricity. And it's ironic that 46 years later, not only we don't have free housing, we don't even have electricity. We don't even have it, even a paid version.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
nuts.
Yeah, so then they start oppressing people. Then after like a year or two, they said women have to wear the hijab, and they start slowly but surely, incrementally imposing their control. And again, that's what's happening in the UK. You look at what Keir Starmer government is doing, slowly but surely trying to take your freedom of speech away.
So this is the pattern that I observed when I was going down a bit of a rabbit hole for today.
Yeah.
That the people that are helping the Islamists, they're either first or second in line to be turned on if the Islamists were to ever get into power, like they did in Iran.
Well, look, the context in the United Kingdom is slightly different to the context of Iran.
Do we need to worry, though?
You should worry because, look, we have a mayor, Sadiq Khan, that every time you criticize him, hides behind the excuse of Islamophobia. And I dislike Sadiq Khan. I think he's been a terrible mayor. I think London was the best city in the world 10 years ago. Ever since he took over, it just went downhill. Everyone's leaving to go to Dubai or Miami or something. London is still great, but he's a terrible, terrible mayor. I don't think what good he has done for the city. The nightlife is dead. Everything is dead. And every time and he's just got knighted. And I'm like, why did he get knighted? Like, I seriously don't understand why Sadiq got knighted. Like, what achievements did he have other than being Pakistani Muslim? Like, can someone answer this question for me?
I've not met one person that likes him remotely. Not one. So
well, again,
where are these
voters? It's signaling thing. And then you turn on the BBC, the British Broadcasting, and you see a guy like wearing an Islamic shirt on TV. And these are like all subtle, like subconscious ideas. I'm like, dude, you're on British TV. Wear a tie and a suit. I don't care if you're a Muslim. You need to like respect, you know what I mean? Like, and they say, oh, you should dress however you want. But you can dress however you want, okay? Don't get me wrong. But these incremental subconscious changes in the people's minds, the change of perception, over time, it has an effect. And Keir Starmer, which is like probably the most uncharismatic Prime Minister I've ever seen, speaking like a robot the whole time, doesn't know what he's talking about. Again, virtue signaling, trying to be the nice guy. That's why I like Nigel Farage. You know, like everyone has their own issues, but that's why I like Nigel Farage and their policies. That's why I like Trump. That's why I like Meloni. But you look at Macron, he's an idiot. Or like Javier Milei from Argentina. And that's the right side of history, right? That is the right side of history. Because if you go the other direction, it's going to be perpetual war. There's going to be perpetual instability. You look at how Biden was. Look at what happened under Biden. Russia, Ukraine, Palestine, Gaza. The way they left Afghanistan. Weak leaders create hard times. Virtue signaling leaders create hard times. And the only way to solve that issue starts with freedom of speech.
What advice would you give the communists in Britain, the liberals on the left that are assisting the Islamists? What would you say to them if you was in a room with them all at a seminar and you was hosting it? What would your cautionary tale be?
Go and live in Iran for a year. Go and live in Gaza for a year. Go and live in Lebanon under Hezbollah for a year. Go and live in a country that's Islamically associated. Or go and, if you could, go and live in a communist country. And come back after a year and tell me if you still support this radical. The problem with you guys is that you're virtue signaling idiots that don't know what they're talking about. And you use empathy as a veil to sort of hide your own pathological hatreds. So, you know, the left are always the ones that point fingers. Oh, you're a racist. You're a sexist. You're this, you're that. But that's just a projection. I think fundamentally what it is a projection. And they use empathy to hide their utterances. It's the woke mind virus.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we're now on red alert for a homegrown terrorist attack due to the conflict with Trump and Iran.
Right.
We think that there could be a knock-on effect to the West, which includes the UK. What do you think the chances of a homegrown terrorist attack are?
It's very high because I've told this story before. But I actually went to school with terrorists. I went to school with two terrorists.
You went to school with two terrorists.
Westminster City School in Victoria, in London. And this was when I was 15 years old. And I used to be in the exact same year as them. One of them used to sit right next to me on form. His name was Tariq Hassan. And the other guy was called Gusai Habib or Gusai Majid. Yeah. So anyway, and this is a funny story because when I was 15, I became an atheist. And then now I'm spiritual. I believe in God now. But for like 10 years, I was an atheist. And anyway, so they used to come up to me, these guys in school. They're like, oh, Younes, why are you not praying? Why are you not coming to Friday prayer? And I used to tell them, shut the fuck up. It's like none of your business. I can do what I want, you know? But they used to get into fights with me, like literal physical fights, like over religion. And we used to have these debates with politics and stuff. Anyway, and the sad thing is that they were not stupid, but it's because they've been brainwashed by this radical Islamic ideology, right? So anyway, I left school. A few years later, I see them on the news. And the BBC is like, oh, Tariq Hassan and Suhaib Majid have been jailed for 25 years for trying to kill a police officer. And they actually went to Iraq to get trained by ISIS to do such a thing. And that was, and another thing I also noticed is that when I came to this country, I was like, there's more Islamic extremists in London than there is in Tehran. I swear to God, the people in Tehran, even though they're being brainwashed day to day, the people in Iran are less radical and that's some of the people you see in London.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe because they haven't lived in those environments. So they think, you know, or they're being brainwashed. It's not that hard to brainwash people. People are stupid. Look at what happened during COVID, for example.
That's another road we can go down.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been a 75% increase in executions in the first 4 months of 2025 in Iran.
Yeah.
That was mind-blowing. When I read those stats, I thought, I need to go and check another source.
Yeah.
How on earth and why on earth has that happened?
Well, Iran is one of the top executioners in the world. So they execute anyone they think is a threat to democracy, to their dictatorship. And yeah, basically because of what happened with Israel, anyone that showed any support towards Israel within Iran, or anyone that showed even someone having an Israeli flag in their home, for example, they would get arrested and executed. So those are the conditions you're living under. That's the conditions you're living on. People don't understand because you have so much freedoms in the West.
That is modern day Iran, here and now.
Exactly, here and now. If you show any support towards Israel, they will arrest you or under some law. There is cooperating with a foreign enemy entity or something like that. Boom, done, hanged.
Treason, dead.
Dead.
Who was the butcher of Tehran?
He was Ibrahim Raisi, the guy that died in a helicopter crash in last year, which I think actually was done by Mossad because he had a beeper as well. So maybe they set off his beeper in the helicopter, but nobody knows how he actually died.
How did he get that name?
So in the 1980s, exactly what I was talking about. In the 1980s, there was a lot of political prisoners, and he was the head of the courts in Iran. So anyone that had to be hanged, he had to sign off. So he signed off like thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people just being there for minor offenses. Minor offenses. So he was the butcher of, and then he became president. But then he died in a helicopter crash. So Ibrahim Raisi is the butcher of terror.
I know a lot of people watching this and hearing this, they'll think, oh, this is scaremongering, but it concerns me because I'm always looking 5-10 years ahead.
Yeah.
And if it happens over there's no reason why it can't happen here, especially with that unholy alliance.
Exactly.
How do we stop that from happening?
Freedom of speech, challenging bad ideas, fighting. Fighting.
And having conversations like this that are completely open, free, nothing's off the table.
No, exactly. And that's why I don't like Keir Starmer, because he's trying to stop freedom of speech. People going to jail for Facebook posts. You know, that's why I do not like Keir Starmer at all.
And is there an Arabic version of NATO being built in the background?
Probably yes, because what they're trying to do is they try to decentralize the powers. And I think that would be actually good for Iran long term because it will help overthrow the Islamic Republic. Because what happened in the past, Saudi Arabia always had to arm itself just in case Iran attacks. But if they decentralize that, then the militaries are shared between the countries, which will make the Middle East more stable in general. I think it's a good idea. I think the Abraham Accords are going to be signed. And this is one of the reasons I love Mohammed bin Salman and the Emiratis. Mohammed bin Salman, when he took over back in 2018, women couldn't drive in Saudi Arabia. And within 7 years, he changed the whole country. They're one of the most exciting countries to go to. Cristiano Ronaldo is playing in the Saudi League. All the millionaires are leaving London to go to Dubai and the UAE because these people, the people at the top, have realized that they cannot live by traditional laws. And they are going against Sharia law. They're going against Islam. Like Mohammed bin Salman came out and said the other day, all hadiths are void now. All hadiths are void. That's a leader of Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Islam, saying all hadiths are void.
And you've read the hadiths, haven't you?
Yeah, most of them, yeah.
And just so people know, what's the difference between the Quran and the hadiths?
So the hadiths are basically like laws that came into effect after the Quran. So it was like the Sharia law is something that just a little bit like the Old Testament and the New Testament. So there's the Quran, which was written by Mohammad or his wife Khadija, which I think it was actually written by his wife. It wasn't written by him because he couldn't read or write. There was the Quran. Then there was the hadiths that Mohammed gave. Then there was hadiths that people that after him gave, like Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Suhaib, Bukhari, people like that. And they're just ridiculous. Like, I don't want to open that can of worms. They're just so absolutely, some of the stuff they said is so absolutely ridiculous. Like, even Khomeini, the Ayatollah of Iran, he wrote a book, and this is going to shock the viewers. He wrote in a book that if you rape a camel or if you rape a goat, then you cannot sell the meat to other Muslims because the meat is haram. But you can sell it to non-Muslims. Like, imagine, like, what kind of mindfuck? Like, who even thinks about fucking a goat and then selling the meat to someone else? Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And this is the guy that became the Ayatollah. And also he said something like, oh, if you touch an infant by accident and you get horny, that's not, like, they're pedophiles as well. And then he's like, oh, you can marry someone that's below 9 years old, but you cannot have sex with them until they start their period. Like, Mohammed married a 9-year-old as well.
And we're not allowed to criticize that
You're
shit.
not allowed, yeah, exactly. We're not allowed to criticize that shit.
Make that make sense.
Exactly. So I actually encourage people to go and read Khomeini's, I think it's, in Farsi we say Tarif al-Masail, but it's like means explaining issues. Go and read Khomeini's book, guys, or go and like online and check it out. And he said something about, oh, female prisoners that are virgins should be raped before they're hanged. Because if they're virgins and you hang them, they might go to heaven. So you have to rape them, then kill them. So this is the type of people you're fucking dealing with. And you can't, not allowed to. And then there's people in the streets of London saying, stand on the right side of history. And there's a picture of Khamenei on the thing. Yeah, he's the right side of history. Are you fucking stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the deranged side of history.
Yeah.
So with that said, what's your views on queers for Palestine?
Chickens for KFC.
Turkey for Christmas.
Exactly. Like queers are killed in Palestine. So how can you have queers for Palestine? I encourage all these queers for Palestine to go and live in Gaza for a year. See if you're alive by the end of the year.
Well, I tell you what, explain to my gay audience members, because there's probably plenty out there that are perhaps supporting illegal immigration, invasion, and Islamist regime that could possibly take over the West. Explain to the queers that are watching this what would happen to them if they was in Palestine or Iran or any Islamic country for that matter.
Well, you're not very much tolerated. I think, look, by law, there's gay people everywhere. There's gay people in Iran right now living, okay? By law in Iran, if you're a gay man, if you have sex with another guy, if you're the one fucking him, you get 10 years in jail. If you're the one being fucked, you have to, your punishment is death. So that's the law. That's actually the law. So if you're the one penetrating, you go to jail for 10 years. If you're the one receiving it, your punishment is death. So that is the law that's in our charter for gay people.
Fucking
So
hell.
that's exactly all I've got to say. You just have to look at the laws. Whether the law is enforced or not is beside the point. But that is the government line.
I mean, I shouldn't make light of this, but you can imagine the trial, can't you? They'll both be accusing each other of doing the fucking. What wasn't me, it was him.
Exactly. It is what it is.
You mentioned the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't know what they are. In fact, I don't even know what they are fully. What are the Abraham Accords?
So the Abraham Accords was something that was proposed by Donald Trump, and it was to normalize relations with the Arab countries and Israel. And a few countries actually signed, like Bahrain, I think it was, a few other countries as well. Saudi Arabia was very close to signing it. And it would have been historic. Because if the Arab countries normalize relations with Israel, that means Iran would be isolated. Right? So what did Iran do? And this was all to do with Biden and how he's a weak, pathetic leader. He wasn't magnanimous enough to give Trump the credit, so he didn't follow through with the Abraham Accords. So what did Iran do? They go and fund Hamas to do the 7th of October attacks, for Israel to then retaliate, and then for the whole world saying, oh, the pro-Palestinian evil Israel. So it was a very smart move by Iran, if you think about it. Right? But it's going to happen anyway, because the Saudis and the Qataris are and the UAE, not so much the Qataris, but they're slowly starting to change their stance. They're very clever people. And you know what Mohammed bin Salman said the other day? He came out and said, if you want us to normalize relations with Israel, you have to get rid of Hamas. That's what Mohammed bin Salman said. So he's saying, if you want us to normalize relations, get rid of Hamas, meaning follow through. So these people, this is what the virtue signaling idiots here don't understand. The Arab leaders don't like Hamas. The Arab leaders don't like Islamic Republic. So when you come and wave your Quest of Palestine flag, they're just laughing at you. They're just because you don't understand it. You're just virtue signaling. You think they're oppressed and Israel has nothing better to do than to kill innocent children. It's not true. Israel is at the forefront of technology. They're at the forefront of medicine. You know, if you go to Tel Aviv, it's a beautiful city. You know, people like in bikinis running around, beautiful women, everything. So Israel has better things to do than to randomly just start bombing people. On this idea of Zionism. Yeah, Zionism only means Jewish people are entitled to a state. That's all that Zionism means. So by that yardstick, I'm a Zionist because I think Israel should be able to have a state. Jewish people should be able to have a state because they've gone through a lot and that's their holy land. And at first, it was agreed. Again, the first war that ever happened between the Israelis and the Arabs started it. They agreed to give that part of lands to the Jews. Then they didn't like it. They started attacking, lose, attacking, lose, attacking Egypt, attacked them. They took half of Israel, gave it back, lose. So every single war was started by the Arabs. Israel won it, and Israel had to apologize for winning. And I think they're just sick of it, you know?
So a lot of people saying that there's a genocide taking place over there. So you've got your ear to the ground, I'd imagine. Have you got people that you speak to over there that are actually living over there? Would you know?
I have a lot of
that?
Israeli friends, but I encourage people to go and watch this guy, Mossab Hassan Youssef. Have you seen him? So Mossab Hassan Youssef is the son of the founder of Hamas. He's the son of the founder of Hamas. And he basically ended up working for the Israelis. And he said something very interesting. He was like, one is a death cult, another one is a democracy. And he was talking about Palestine and Israel, so Palestine and Gaza and the West Bank being a death cult, and the other being a democracy. So he was a Palestinian that was against the idea of Palestine and even idea of Hamas or either. And also, you need to realize this. Palestine is a made-up identity. People don't understand it. The Palestinians living in Gaza are actually Egyptian, and they were only there after Israel won the war against Egypt, gave the land back, and then some people were stuck in that bit of land that were Egyptian. So genetically, they're all Egyptian, yeah? The Palestinians in Jordan, again, there was a war. Israel won that war, but then gave back some of the land. The Palestinians are actually Jordanian. They speak Arabic in a Jordanian dialect. Majority of them have Jordanian birth certificates. So the Palestine idea is a made-up identity, and it was called the British Mandate for Palestine in 1945. It was called the British Mandate for Palestine, right? And it was just basically, it's a made-up identity just to go against the Jews, just to go against Israel, right? And it's funny to me because I read this the other day. In the Quran, it mentions Israel 40 plus times in the Quran. You know how many times it mentions Palestine?
None.
0. 0 times. So in the Quran, Israel is mentioned 40 plus times, but Palestine is mentioned 0. Okay? So that's all, that tells you everything you need to know.
Who do you think will explode the next nuclear bomb?
Oh, interesting question. I think if the mullahs could, the mullahs in Iran would do it just to survive. Russia could be another one if they getting poked by Ukraine. Maybe North Korea. I don't know. I would say Iran, Russia, North Korea.
Do you think that's even on the cards?
I hope not. I hope not. I think even though there's a lot of problems going on in the world, I think as a civilization, we're getting more smarter.
I mean, do you think we're close to a World War III? Do you think a World War III is possible?
It's always possible, but I don't think so. I don't think the World War III is going to be the same as World War II or World War I. It's probably going to be a cyber war or like an artificial general intelligence war.
And it could be done a hell of a lot quicker than it was before, couldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's going to be nuclear. I think it's something similar to COVID, but more digital maybe.
So what do you think about the European migrant crisis, the invasion? What are your thoughts and have you got a solution?
I have to add some nuance to this conversation, yeah? The British, the Americans, and the Europeans, they messed up the Middle East. They overthrew the Shah. Look what they gave us. 10 million Iranians had to immigrate, okay? They went and invaded Iraq, which I think directly led to Brexit. Again, all those people from Iraq and Syria end up immigrating. Afghanistan, same thing, yeah? So you have to take some responsibility. You messed up, you destabilized the Middle East, and now all these people are coming. Also in Africa. But regardless, so now you have a huge problem with illegal immigration. And what you need is just strong borders. You need strong borders. You're like, listen, we took our immigrants and look, immigrants built this country, but there's only so much you can take. There's only so much you can take without losing your identity as well during the process, okay? Every country should keep their identity, should keep their culture. Like if I'm the president of Iran one day, I will be like, okay, immigrants, legal immigrants are welcome. If you're competent, you're welcome. But if you come to my country, you're going to respect our laws, our traditions, our way of life. And what's happening now is that Europe is losing its identity. Europe is losing its identity. It's becoming this Islamist, sort of left-leaning, woke communist bloc. So you need to stop that. And the only way to stop that is to strengthen your borders, be proud of your history. Don't tell people, oh, pay reparations, pay reparations. Yeah, okay, cool. The British done a lot of wrong, but also they kickstarted world trade. So you can't take the good with the bad.
Abolished slavery.
Abolished slavery as well. So again, why should you pay reparations when you're the ones that, abolished slavery? But look, every single empire in the world, whether it is the Romans, whether it is the Persians, whether it is the British, they've done bad things. Okay? The British, for example, because this is like an island, cold, rainy island, you don't have a lot of natural resources. So how did you get your stuff? You start building ships and you start taking them all around the world. And you start like stealing ports and then going to those countries, invading those countries, taking the resources, like from India, for example. That's how the British Empire was built. Let's just be real, right? The British Empire was built by stealing other countries. But doing that, whilst they were doing that, they managed to spread British ideas, which was democracy, like maybe class, but also kickstarted world trade. So the whole routes around the world, because you had so many ships, you kickstarted world trade. You're the ones that actually mapped out the world. So the trade in the world we have now is thanks to the British. But during that process, they also done a lot of wrongs. Okay, but that's the same with every empire. Romans done the same. Persians done the same. Egyptians. The slaves that built the pyramids. You know, when people talk about slavery and reparations, it's funny. I'm like, yeah, you know, the first ever slave empire, it was the Egyptians. Egyptians were black people enslaving other black people. So black people are the ones that started slavery. At this moment in time, we have more slaves in Africa, in Somalia and Sudan, than we did at the peak of the transatlantic slave trade. So if you actually care about slavery, go and slave the slaves today. Don't be asking for reparations.
Yeah, focus on modern day slavery. There's plenty of trafficking slavery going on.
Yeah.
Have you got you know what I mean? Is there a similar problem in Iran as we've got over here with rape gangs due to the culture?
No, actually not. I think these are quite unique things to the UK. As I said, when I came to this country, I thought people here were more extremists than back in Iran. And I don't know why that is. I think it's because we have a weak education system. We have a weak media that doesn't call these things out. The rape gangs, and also Tommy Robinson, which is a good friend of mine, and I think a good friend of yours. And I think when is the
September the 13th.
Yeah, so September 30th. So he's the one that exposed the rape gangs, and instead of going after the rape gangs, they went after him. They go after people that speak about the problems, not the problems themselves. And now we know for a fact Tommy Robinson was right. He was 100% right, and all he had to go for, I actually feel sorry for him. So the rape gangs, look, to some extent, sort of minors sleeping with minors is systemic in Islam. Why is it systemic in Islam? Because Mohammad married a 9-year-old. So they say, well, if the Prophet can marry a 9-year-old, so can we. You know? So to some extent, there is that element, but also there's a lot of sick people out there, and they use religion as a cover for their own psychopathic tendencies.
And a get out of jail card.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't wash. Do you think Islam should be welcomed into British politics?
No. I don't think any religion should be welcomed. Because I don't think religion and politics should mix. As I said, spirituality is something deeply personal. You have your own relationship to God. I have my own relationship to God. And I cannot tell you what to do, and you cannot tell me what to do. Okay? And I think fundamentally, religion is a control mechanism. The problem with Islam is going through its own renaissance now. Islam is going through its own renaissance and age of enlightenment. What happened in Europe 200 or 300 years ago? If you go back and look at Europe 200 or 300 years ago, people were dying. The church was torturing people, killing scientists, you know, and they're saying, oh, you're being blasphemous towards the Bible and stuff like that, right? So basically, every religion has to go through its own age of renaissance and enlightenment and sort of detach from the state. And that's happening right now in countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE.
So there's a lot of Brits that have moved out to Dubai.
Yeah.
I read that the IRGC have threatened to strike Dubai.
Exactly. So
Have I read that right?
yes, 100%. And this is another thing I was going to tell the world. People say, oh, we don't like war. Stop interfering with other countries. I'm like, look, as long as Islamic Republic of Iran exists, there will never be peace. And that's why the Arabs don't like them either, because UAE built this whole amazing city in Dubai now. And imagine it could be gone like this if Iran get pissed off, and they don't have the Iron Dome like Israel does. So the Arabs don't want them there. The Europeans don't want them there anymore. The Americans don't want them there. The Chinese don't really want them. Nobody wants them there anymore. Nobody wants the Islamic Republic. So if you want peace in the world, get rid of the Islamic Republic. I cannot reiterate this point enough.
And what is their beef with Dubai then? What's their
There's no
problem?
beef. They're just doing that. They're just doing that to threaten the world. Saying, oh, if you try to get rid of us, we're going to cause havoc.
Not because it's coming westernized.
But yeah, not because, but also Mohammed bin Salman doesn't like Khamenei. He called Khamenei Hitler.
Right.
Yeah, so... But then again, I keep telling people, like, oh, people say we're anti-war, these virtue signaling left-leaning idiots and the Islamists in the streets every day. They don't realize that as long as the Islamic Republic, you're going to have instability in the world. You're going to have Hamas, you're going to have Hezbollah, you're going to have Houthis, you're going to get threats, you're going to get strikes on Israel, you're going to get death threats for fatwas against Trump. One of my friends, Puria Zarati, he got stabbed outside his house by Islamic Republic's agents. He worked for Iran International. So I think the Islamic Republic is a virus that needs to go. They're like the head of the snake that needs to be cut off. And as I said before, I do not want a full-scale war with Iran. Just go and kill the heads of IRGC, support the people, and we need like strong opposition, which I hope to be a part of, going back and taking control for like 100 days. No, not 100 days, sorry. 100 of us maybe taking control for 1 or 2 years. Let the dust settle, have a referendum, whether we want a monarchy, a republic, or whatever else, parliamentary. And then Iran will come into a new age.
So if the Islamic Republic were taken out, would that then weaken the likes of Hezbollah and Hamas, Al-Qaeda?
Because that's where they get the funding from.
So the IRGC really is the head of the snake as far as terrorism is concerned.
That's how they make the money. The money from Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis come from Islamic Republic.
Do many people know that?
I hope so.
Because for me, it's always been ISIS, Al-Qaeda, now Hamas, and I've never really delved into the IRGC.
Yeah, but because Iran is one of the richest countries in the world, let's not forget that. Iran is the second highest oil producer, second highest gas producer. They have a lot of money. So they can afford to send billions to Hamas. They can afford to send billions to Hezbollah. They can afford to send them rockets. They can afford to, whilst the Iranian people are starving. So it's quite sad.
So for you, before I move on to a couple of more British things, in an ideal world, you would like Donald Trump to take out the IRGC and do the job properly and thoroughly.
Exactly.
That's your message to the masses.
Exactly.
Okay, you said that you're friends with Tommy Robinson, which, a man with olive skin, again, that goes against the grain, because by rights, you shouldn't be friends because he's apparently a racist, which we both know not to be true. But what is it you like about him and support about him?
Well, he's a warrior. That's what I respect. I like a warrior. Look, Tommy Robinson, I agree with majority of the things he says, but I think sometimes the way he says it maybe gets him in trouble. He can say it in a lot smarter way sometimes, but maybe he's matured a bit. But he's 100%, look, he was correct about the rape gangs. He's correct about illegal immigration and just migration in general. He's correct about the great replacement theory. He's correct about the fact that, the woke mind virus. All these things he's correct about.
He exposed the BBC,
They
didn't he?
exposed the
corruption.
BBC, exactly. But this is the thing. That's what we call the matrix. If you attack the matrix is going to attack you back. Right? So that's what Tommy Robinson is going through right now. So, yeah, look, I just think a lot of people say the same things that he says, but maybe because of his background and maybe because he's from Luton and maybe because he looks in a certain way and maybe because he speaks in a certain way, people look at him like, yeah, white supremacist. And again, I'm going to say this again. There is a tiny minority of racist people in this country. We cannot deny that. There is a hard right in this country, but it's massively overstated. It's massively overstated. Or every time they say, oh, the far right. I'm a far right person. I don't think I'm far right at all. I think I'm a centrist.
And you're going to be at this year's Unite the Kingdom rallies. And
Sure.
describe them rallies to me. Unite the Kingdom, it's a Tommy Robinson festival of free speech.
Yeah.
So you've been to...
The one in July last year.
Definitely at one because I saw you there.
Yeah.
So just explain in your own words what those free speech festivals are like.
They're great. They're peaceful. A lot of people from many different backgrounds. It's a bit like a Trump rally, I would say. The British version. Yeah, I didn't say anything bad. I think everyone was treating me nice. Tommy Robinson treated me, gave me a media pass. I was just behind the stage and great movements. I think, look, if something similar was happening, well, I'm a British citizen as well. But for example, let's something similar was happening in Iran, and we had like a bunch of idiots coming to my country. I would do exactly the same as what Tommy Robinson's doing. Just fighting for his country, and I salute him for it.
And future generations. I think a lot of people, I think at the moment with the UK, everyone's got the I'm okay Jack mentality rather than, well, I'm okay, but the future generations are going to really struggle. So what is it about British culture you like the best? Because we never speak much positive of British culture at the moment because it's like we're either losing it or we've lost it. So
I like the classy side of British culture, the three-piece suits and the nice. I don't like the snobbery side of it, but I like the class. You know, they say British people have class. You know, whereas Americans don't have a lot of class, and that's what I like about British. But then there are some things that I don't really like about British. Like I would say I have more of an American mindset.
Right.
Like in America, everyone thinks they can become the next president of the United States, the American dream. Americans are dumber than the British, by the way, but they're more optimistic, I would say, and they're more ambitious. Whereas people in Britain are smarter, but they're less ambitious. Like they don't think they're going to become the next president of the United States or United Kingdom. They think, okay, just go and become a plumber. That's the mentality we have, and I don't really like that. So I would say I'm a mixture of Persian, British, and maybe American a little bit.
You like the British sophistication and the American dream.
Exactly.
That combination.
That's it.
And we need some of that. We need a little bit more optimism over here and sort of pumping each other up. Yeah, you can do it. Go get it. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, reach for the stars. What would your final message to the masses be that are watching and listening?
I would say kill the woke mind virus. Wake up. Don't be swayed by the mainstream media. Don't listen to the BBC or listen to them, but listen to them with a rational mindset. Not everyone that criticizes immigration is racist. Not everyone that criticizes LGBTQ is homophobic. Not everyone that criticizes Islam is Islamophobic. Just be an individual. Don't have independent thinking. Think for yourself. Don't follow the masses like a sheep. Don't jump on the bandwagon. And they say in life, if you want to have an adventure, tell the truth.
Amen to that. And where can people find you? What are your social media platforms?
So I'm Younes Rocks, YOUNESSROCKS, or Younes Sadaghiani. I'm sure you're going to put the links underneath anyway. I have a YouTube channel, X channel, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm the biggest on Instagram, but I think I have over 120K across all platforms. But the biggest one is Instagram.
Lovely. Okay, so if you want to follow Younes some more, listen to what he's got to say, watch what he does. He's very active, very entertaining, very sincere. We'll put some links to his socials in the description. Remember, if you like these conversations, like and subscribe to the channel so I can keep guests like Younes coming, because the mainstream don't want these messages going out there to the masses. That was a learning curve for me. I totally appreciate you spending your Sunday with me. This was recorded on a Sunday, by the way.
Exactly.
Business never sleeps.
Exactly.
I appreciate you, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Cheers, bro. Thank you very much.
Cheers, brother. Thank you, mate.